Paige Schleif, and I am currently an AmeriCorps Promise Fellow Leader at the Minnesota Alliance with Youth. I earned my bachelor's degree from the University of St. Thomas, where I double majored in sociology and justice and peace studies. I really enjoyed both of those majors together because sociology ties in the research and the data, and then the justice and peace studies part of it brings in the praxis, like the so what are you going to do about all of those things you're learning. So I really enjoyed my time at college, but I knew I wanted to serve my community, and I didn't know exactly how I wanted to go about doing that. And so I stumbled into youth work through an internship, and the stars just magically aligned. It was toward the end of my time in college. I accepted an internship at the Minneapolis American Indian Center with the GNU Golden Eagles after-school program. I met the AmeriCorps Promise Fellow that was serving there at the time, and I just felt that it was something I needed to look more into. And for a little bit of context about me, I grew up in the suburbs of Minnesota. I had plenty of resources provided to me, but because I was already doing well in school, no one really engaged me or pushed me to take any risks. I didn't have a mentor in my life to challenge me to new heights in my academic life. My family was extremely supportive, but they also assumed I had everything magically figured out, which I did not. When I interned at the Minneapolis American Indian Center, I found my drive for youth work in that I wanted to be for youth what I had needed in my own life. Someone to guide me, push me, mentor me, encourage me to get involved in and try new things. And so because of that, I applied for the Promise Fellow program, where I served at the American Indian Magnet School for 2 years, and I am now the first ever Promise Fellow Leader at the Minnesota Alliance with Youth because I believe in the Alliance's mission of helping youth reach their full potential. Our interventions focus on attendance, behavior, and coursework through service, caring adults, and out-of-school supports, and at the heart of the Promise Fellow model is the relationships we build with the youth we serve. It is clear that youth can do more when they have a caring adult advocating for and supporting them. The Minnesota Alliance with Youth does a really good job of doing things with youth, not to them or for them. When I entered the field of youth intervention, I myself thought of it more as a stepping stone, although a stepping stone to what, I wasn't exactly sure. As I grew into my role, I realized that this movement is much larger than myself and that there are more pieces at play than I could have ever imagined. So I have served youth for about 3 years now through various programs, and I know I still have much to learn. There's always more learning to do. This field is extremely diverse and ever expanding. And youth work is not a new concept in any part of the world. This has been going on for a long time. It's always been growing and changing. The bottom line is that the work we do is necessary to the health of our youth, our communities, and our nation and the world. I always tell myself, if not now, when? If not you, then who? We don't have time to wait around because youth need us now. They needed us yesterday, actually. Your role as a youth worker is critical. I mean, being a caring adult can make all the difference in the lives of youth, and it does every day, and I've experienced it firsthand, and it's truly amazing. Just as an example, I use restorative practices a lot with my youth. I've modeled restorative chats, which helps youth in turn work through conflict with their own peers because then they can use restorative chats with their friends. I've also led classroom community building circles a lot, and I've taught youth how to be circle keepers. And restorative practices really offer a new way of being with each other, and we need to be real and we need to be vulnerable if we're going to change the world, and I think it's really good to teach restorative practices to youth as well. And my circles really paid off in a moment of crisis. I just wanted to share an experience I had. One day, we had a serious fight happen in the doorway of the middle school science room that I was serving in right before that class was supposed to start. And because of the relationship I had with that teacher and those students, I was able to pull together an impromptu circle with the entire class to de-escalate and process the emotions the class was feeling. We didn't get to any science that day, but offering a safe space for youth to express themselves post-conflict I felt was much more meaningful to the class moving forward. If I had not been there, class would have resumed as usual. I mean, and honestly, how much of the lesson do you think those students would have retained? Probably very little, because they had just gone through a traumatic experience. And in restorative practices, if you're not familiar with restorative practices, we move from the model of asking why to asking what happened, because youth are not their behavior. We know that suspensions and expulsions don't work. We need youth in school. And something to know is that youth are not inherently bad. Youth who face adverse childhood experiences such as ACEs, trauma, and or non-nurturing environments need love and forgiveness, not punishment. This is something I truly believe in. It's up to us to show youth how to advocate for themselves in the world, to show them how to bring power to their voice, whether that's with teachers, parents, peers, everyone and anyone in their life. And what's more, all youth can benefit from intervention, not just the troublemakers. In a world where our education system seems all too often to fail our youth, you can be the difference and you can change lives for the better. Youth work is an ever-evolving field, like I said, and it will honestly never bore you. I learn new things every day. There really is no typical day. Think of it as an amazing opportunity to learn and to offer what you know, because you truly can make your mark in this field and create a career for yourself if you're authentic, passionate, and committed to working with youth at the heart of everything you do. The diversity of programs is also what helps the field of youth intervention thrive. As the Youth Intervention Certification explains, youth workers are asked to wear many different hats, and being tolerant of this ambiguity and being relentlessly flexible, as I like to say, are key in this field. Navigating those hats daily can sound overwhelming, but it becomes more natural with practice, as most things do. And there are many different types of youth intervention programs that this training will explore. For example, I've done a lot of youth work in after-school and summer programming, in addition to serving in school, and after-school programs are another great opportunity to engage with youth. I've mostly worked through the 4-H program, and the needs of youth are different, so we respond with different programs. And out-of-school programming is so important. If you just think about it, imagine two youth. One goes home after school every day to play video games. I knew many of those youth in the school that I served. And then imagine another youth who stays for after-school programming 4 days a week where they learn about woodworking and engineering. Which youth do you think will be more prepared and confident in their daily work? I think the answer is pretty obvious. Out-of-school time is key. Students only spend about a third of their time in school. You may not have the power to influence what they do all of the time, but as long as they're in your program, they'll be benefiting from greater emotional intelligence and interactions with their peers, critical skills that should be taught in schools but usually are not. As I said, youth do not equal their behavior. We must see and care for the whole child, because if we can't see clearly, how will they? Although diverse, all programs share a common goal of guiding young people into becoming productive adults and contributing members of society. This is an idea that everybody, regardless of political affiliation, should be able to get behind. With the current struggles we face in this country and around the world, we have to be more diligent about where and how we spend our resources. And investing in youth time and time again continues to demonstrate enormous dividends. Youth intervention works, it saves money, and we need more of it. The Youth Intervention Certification highlights the importance of both professional development and self-care. Through experience, I figured out how important both of those things are. And as a youth worker, you're doing amazing things every day, and professional development is huge. With an ever-changing world, youth workers always need to be at the forefront of new knowledge. Youth intervention, I like to say, is part science, part art, and is completely critical to developing the next generations of leaders. I encourage you to seriously consider staying within the expansive realm of youth work, because there are always opportunities for professional development, which are necessary for you to grow in any field. The better trained a youth worker is, the better the outcomes for youth. We know that. You need to be able to think on your feet and respond in the moment, and in order to be effective, you need to be trained. Youth need a consistent, caring adult, and being consistent means staying in the field. Kids have too many people coming and going throughout their life, and we need to try to stop that and be consistent, caring adults for these kids. As an example from my own experience, there were times where I offered space for youth voice in our activities, and then straight away I turned around and made decisions without their input. They let me know immediately that I was not following through on my promise. I would acknowledge my mistake and I apologized, showing the kids that I too am human. We were all able to move on with a greater respect for each other. And I have learned that youth see everything you do. You are a role model, and that's just one of the many hats you wear, which is why training is so important. And be sure to say what you mean and mean what you say, and actually follow through on what you say, because if you don't follow through, they will notice. Being committed to continued learning raises awareness and lends credibility to the field, which will help the field grow and gain professional respect from all sectors. And this YIPA training is one of many professional development trainings I've taken advantage of, and you should too, because your organizations only have so much training capacity, so you should explore what's out there and take advantage of those opportunities. It should come as no surprise that youth work is challenging and can lead to stress and burnout. Just like there is no one-size-all-fits program that addresses the needs of youth, there is no one-size-fits-all self-care plan. Everyone is different. Take the time to explore yourself and experiment with different strategies so you can figure out what's right for you. Self-care will prevent burnout so you can stay in the field, learn more, and get better at what you do. You can even share self-care strategies with the youth you serve and try them out and learn together. My first year, I overextended myself, definitely. Didn't know how to say no, so I tried to take on too many things and I had to deal with some burnout. Burnout is a grief response to not being as effective as we wish we could be. I mean, it's obvious that you can't effectively serve youth from an empty glass. When you're not at your best, you may end up causing more harm than good to the youth you're serving. For my self-care in particular, I like to practice deep breathing. I focus on my values. I like to meditate, try journaling, and just taking time for myself, like a hot bath or a shower or listening to music. But that's just me. After I started making time for self-care, I could see the quality of my interventions and relationships improve, so that encouraged me to keep with my self-care plan. So it's a positive upward cycle. In my view, it's truly an honor to be able to play such a critical role in the lives of youth, and we owe them our best selves. I can't stress self-care enough. It's key to your resiliency and your effectiveness in this work. The bottom line is that self-care is a part of your job. It's not a nice to have, it's a need to have. If you don't attend to it, the quality of your youth interventions will show it. So I just want to say thank you for taking this huge step in continuing your learning. Life is a journey. Although not highly publicized, youth work is a powerful profession. We often do the work quietly on the sidelines without expecting awards or fanfare. Knowing our impact is more than enough. But we need everyone to know the amazing work that we do every single day. This is a big reason why I took on the Promise Fellow Leader role, so that I can be an ambassador and advocate for youth work, to educate others and help them understand the immense need for this work. You can raise awareness by sharing your own stories of impact. Those stories are what move people to donate and fund our cause, and no one can tell your story better than you. I urge you to keep the big picture in mind while in the trenches, as I say, of youth intervention. Positively intervening in the life path of a young person can alter the trajectory of that person's entire family for generations to come. The work you do may go unnoticed to many, but to those whose lives you touch, life will never be the same. You give them hope, you give them choice, you give them a voice. Walk with the youth in your life, learn from each other, and change the world. You may not see your impact right away, but know that it is there. There is a measurable value in youth work, although we're gathering more and more evidence to prove with data what we've always known in our hearts and spirits. Honestly, not everyone can do what you do, so celebrate your talents and acknowledge the areas where you need growth, because a growth mindset can make all the difference. The relationships you build can continue for years. I have youth that still remember me and reach out and ask for advice from my first year of service. Through working with youth, I've come to realize just how significant youth interventions are, and that helping youth thrive can truly be at the heart of my career, and it can be for you too. As a community, it is our responsibility to make sure all youth have the opportunity to thrive. Youth intervention programs work, and they just make sense. To grow the field, we need more like-minded people willing to both teach and learn. The Youth Intervention Certification Training is one big step toward the goal of appreciating the value of the field. You'll add so much to your youth intervention toolbox, and it will add credibility to the work you do as well as to the field itself. I'm forever in the process of learning more about youth intervention, and I hope you'll continue to join me in this endeavor. We cannot do this work alone. It may seem like a daunting task, but you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Reach out to networks, friends, family, anyone and everyone. Be the best youth worker you can be. Push yourself to stick with it, because our youth need you.